All right, here we are. We are here at Titleist TPI out here in Carlsbad, California. It is a beautiful day. I'm joined by two legends at Titleist. Stephanie, JJ, thank you for joining me again and having me out here because it's been nothing but an amazing day. It always is here. And we are here to talk about GT Woods.
Awesome. We're happy
And
to
I-
be.
We're always happy to be back.
And I know it sounds kind of like, wait a minute, you're talking about GT Woods. You already have GT Woods. But we're here on GT Woods because the GT family is finally complete, or going to be complete. We finally get to see the last kind of, I guess, sibling in the family today. And it's pretty exciting because this is one that it didn't come out initially, but it's out now. And I think the range of golfer it fits is quite wide. So we're here celebrating GT1.
Yeah.
But before we get deep into GT1, I mean, the GT series overall, 2, 3, 4, has done so well. I mean, consumer-wise, we look at the Golf WRX forums, you look at it on tour, it's just, it's done so well. It's been such a big success. How does it make you feel when you look back, just a few months ago, felt like we were just launching that, and now you look back and say, wow, it has been pretty successful. How does it make you feel?
It's obviously, just we call it the icing on the cake, right? To see that all the testing, all the effort, all of the design and engineering and the innovation that went into, GT2, 3, and 4 in the GT2 and 3 Fairway Woods, that JJ and his team have had such global success with it. And we're excited to see that, as well as how well it's doing in the marketplace with golfers everywhere.
Yeah. And JJ, I mean, that's the big thing too, is tour adoption, because I feel like a lot of Titleist players aren't necessarily players who are just going to move to the new thing just because it's new, that they need to see that it helps their game in some way or needs to show improvement. But the tour adoption for the GT series across all of tour has been really fast, and it's been by a lot of players, it seems like.
Yeah, it turns out if you make a driver that's longer and straighter, the adoption's pretty early, and often it's really special to be able to involve tour players in the testing process. We utilize them as part of the wing of R&D for Stephanie or Marnie or the team to come out and test with players, get feedback on look, sound, shape, feel, help that drive other initiatives so that we have such a complete product by the time we get it to tour players. And then when they see the performance, look out.
Yeah. And have you noticed any trends on tour when you look at kind of this season of players using it, players switching, players getting fit? Have you noticed any trends, anything like that may have been something you maybe didn't expect, that you now look back and see and go, wow, that's pretty impressive?
I think it's a trend we've seen since TS. And that's a little bit is what we've kind of found is with TS is we were 90% in a 3 model. And what we found is that as 2s improved in terms of shape and provided a launch characteristic difference, that our 2 counts have grown a little bit. You look at a Justin Thomas, a longtime 3 user now in GT2, and we have players like that are now seeing performance and not letting a shape or a feel or a look drive a decision, and letting the total performance from a launch, spin, speed standpoint drive that fit.
Yeah. And it's been pretty exciting to see. I mean, even some players that you don't see change very often, kind of hold fast on some of their tried and true love clubs, have now all of a sudden moved, and you go, wow, that person moved. That's kind of crazy. So it's been kind of exciting from our side with all the what's in the bag stuff to see some of those players very quickly to change where you didn't expect it.
Yeah, I mean, a Brian Harmon who really doesn't like change, but he looks down and sees a 3-4 mile an hour jump. It's really hard to leave on the table just because you kind of have come to know a club. And so be able to work with players like that and let them really see that and then see the performance on the golf course, which is really where things stand out, where we can look at statistics and say, hey, you're driving it better because of this product.
Yeah, it's very cool to see. And then, Stephanie, we have now we're talking GT1. So
Right.
GT1 is out. GT1 previously, the previous TSR one, if you don't know, I don't know how you wouldn't, but GT1 is kind of the highest launching, I want to say, I don't want to say spinniest because that sounds bad, but it does have a little bit of spin, but it's the highest launching, kind of a little bit more spin, club head built for players who are looking for, who need that, who need more height, all that. How does GT1 kind of evolve with the other line? The GT2 came about, and how does one kind of, does it follow the same evolution path, or does it kind of go down its own path because it did come out later?
As you alluded to, the one product really seeks to fill the space for the player that needs launch, that needs spin. And so when we started to think about the GT technology platforms and how we could leverage those to improve performance for that player that needs launch and needs spin in order to promote their greatest distance, we were able to really leverage it to produce a center of gravity location that allowed us to create an elevated ball flight. And so you pair that in combination with new shaping that's more aerodynamic, allowing it to move through the air faster, and new face technologies with speed ring and VFT. We're making it fast on fast, but we're also delivering a trajectory that this player needs in order to seek greatest distance.
Yeah, and it's still got, just like the other GT drivers, still has the multi-material construction.
Yep, has the PMP crown.
Yep.
So just like the 2 and the 3 and the 4, it has a crown wrap with the PMP, which is helping us to produce a great sound and feel characteristic in this product as well, that I think sets it apart from key competitors. And then also you pair that with the high contrast face, so you've got great alignment capability. So really hitting on all cylinders for that player that needs launch and needs spin.
Yeah, and now with the original or the previous GT1, I think people immediately saw it and said, "Well, that's not for me. I don't need that." I feel like this year with the driver, especially the Fairway Woods, GT1 is a little bit more versatile, and it fits kind of a wider range of golfers. Where before it was just kind of this small little section that needed that height, and now it kind of can go from, yes, that player's covered, but even someone who may not need as much help could still find some benefit with the GT1.
Yeah, when you look at the one product category, and we started this obviously with TS1 with the driver, and then TSI1, and then TSR1, we've always configured it in an ultra lightweight configuration, and GT1 is still available in that ultra lightweight configuration. We do find that a lot of moderate speed players, and we categorize that anyone that could be 130 mile an hour driver ball speed and below, to kind of need that launch and spin. Also, a lot of them benefit from a very lightweight configuration to maximize their club speed and their ball speed and ultimately distance. But when we really started to dig deeper into this, there's a lot of players that add dynamic loft at impact, that need launch and that need spin, but don't necessarily need it in an ultra lightweight package. So now in this generation with GT, we're offering it in 2 configurations. So with our +6 SureFit flat weight, we're able to elevate head weight to be almost equivalent to where GT2, 3, and 4 are, just 2 grams lighter. But then pairing it with our other featured shafts and our regular Tour Velvet 360 grip, you're able to produce that heavier, more standard men's weight build and really be able to drive that performance for the player that needs launch and spin just through the head design.
Yeah. And then JJ, when you see like a product like GT1, new out that is kind of broader and the player will fit. Now it's not going to be an everyday tour part, I don't think. But is it something where you look at this and say, you know what, there may be a player or two here and there that this could fit a specific need for when you look at tour players, aspiring players out playing competitively?
Yeah, I think we're going to see it at both ends. There's always a handful of tour players that are asking for more spin. Especially as modern instruction is doing things and, they're controlling their lead wrist and trying to control that dynamic loft. They're asking for some up sometimes. And having a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 and being able to do it a variety of ways between the head models, lofts, SureFit hosel, we don't have to kind of do anything too drastic. And then there's a lot of next-gen players that are saying, hey, I want it to look and feel like a Titleist, but I'm not quite at a point where I can create enough spin, and now we have a product for that player.
Yeah, and also interesting, there's going to be if you're looking for a junior style build of this as well, which is going to be shorter and built for that player who, like you said, wants to take advantage of all the technology out of the head, but needs that lighter, shorter build for just kind of their physical limitations at that moment. So that's going to be, I think, really interesting to see, or having that ability to have those players have something like this at their kind of arsenal, because you look at some of the young players now, they're phenomenal players.
Yeah, and it's really cool for our next-gen players to be able to utilize the flat weight and shaft adjustability to have that kind of grow with that player and have that availability. So as a fitter, having 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the adjustments we can make through the lineup, it's pretty exciting as a fitter.
Yeah, and I think now, especially with the 1 in the line, I don't think you need to think of necessarily even the GT series as kind of a linear thing of, well, if you're not a 1, you're a 2. They kind of overlap a little bit now, and especially with the adjustability with the weights on all of the models, they kind of do have a lot of overlap. And I think now more than ever, you can look at that whole GT line of drivers and say there is something for every swing out there, no matter if you're just beginning or you're somebody who needs help, or you're that aspiring player, you're a tour professional. There is a driver that is going to, that's going to fit your swing. And that's going to be pretty nice.
Yeah.
Part of our design philosophy really is it comes down to identifying, avid golfers, what are their needs, right? There are players that need aggressively low spin, and that's what the 4 really lives for. When you look at the 1, it's for that player that needs launch and spin. The 2, that max forgiveness product. The 3, center of gravity adjustability to unlock your speed and distance. So really being able to delineate and look at how do we help all golfers play better golf, to hit longer drives, to hit straighter drives, and then bringing it forward with fitting technologies that JJ and the team can unlock really more optimal performance for all categories of players too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really talk about there's forgiveness in fitting, and that's the thing I think a lot of players are trying to go into a shop, peel the plastic off and say, I want it to be straighter. But if you go through the fit and utilize not only the different models, but things like sure fit hosel and shaft adjustability and all of those things, you're going to find that you're significantly straighter because you got what matched you.
Yeah. No, it was very interesting when we were kind of doing our kind of tune-up fitting out here. Where GT1, it didn't beat out my GT2 Gamer, but it was amazing to see how close it did come with just a few minor kind of tweaks. Nothing even crazy by going, crazy up or down in loft or anything. It was just a few little things here, and it became very similar with just a few aspects of the numbers that change. That for me didn't work out for 1 to win, but for other player it could mean the difference of gaining 10 more yards or hitting it straighter, and it wasn't like you had to go to something completely different.
Yeah, and part of that, I think Lucas, when he took you through your fit as well, you play a GT2 11 degree, right?
Yeah,
and you tested
high loft head.
You tested a GT1 and a 10 degree, and you were able to achieve very similar launch, but maybe slightly more spin with the 1 category product. But being able to really understand that and in the hands of an expert fitter, dial it in and unlock that performance through the fitting is really key.
Yeah. So yeah, the driver looks amazing, and then also the one that I'd almost say I'm arguably more, I wouldn't say more excited about, but I want to say that the GT1 Fairway has a really kind of a cool story because, again, when we think previous 1 series clubs that we've seen, there's always the adjustable hosel, but this one we're adding dual weights, and they're spaced really far apart. And in what you consider a lightweight, more forgiving, higher launching product, you don't really think of this much adjustability. But the new Fairway Wood has a ton of adjustability, and the same thing, the range of players that this is going to fit is going to be vast.
I'm sure you didn't expect to see when they pulled the head cover off this to see a 4F CG adjustability similar to what we have in the 4 driver model. But it was a real key when Tom Bennett, who leads our fairway design on our Metal Woods team, when he sat down and he started to think about how do we really advance the performance for this player, it really came down to the fact that we didn't know the extent of how far we could go with center of gravity depth and really promoting that higher launch. And through testing and through prototyping, we're able to discern and define the fact that having that 4F CG capability and being able to drive that CG further back would really open up new opportunities of performance, launch, spin, speed, distance. Where we ended up with these 2 flat weights essentially is allowing us to, in the aft position, promote a ball flight that's very similar to what we had with TSR1, but with a better chassis, more forgiveness, better technology. And then with the forward position, we're able to offer shape performance differences. So with JJ and his team, we're able to take, spin down slightly with that forward position, but really allow players that, benefit from a shallower face head that sits closer and tighter to the ground, really giving that confidence-inspiring look, opening up real great opportunities for fitting with this product.
Yeah, and that's the thing. With driver, we may see, I feel like this fairway is something you could easily see going to a touring professional, whether you're LPGA, PGA, whatever. You could see these in bags throughout the year because I think that there is just so much adjustability. And like you mentioned, that shallower face, some players, like you said, don't necessarily need the lowest spinning option out there. This could really find its way out on tour easily.
Yeah, I think this is a good homage to the fact that we show tour players everything.
Yeah.
And we've seen it with T350 long irons in players' bags. This is another one during testing. I love everything about this. It spins a little too much. So as Tom's working through it and going, hey, with having this new construction and this new shape and doing these things, I might be able to unleash the best of both.
Yeah.
And that's such a cool thing as a fitter to go, I can fit a slow speed player in the morning, leave it in the afternoon, a high speed tour player, and utilize the weights and the sure fit hosel and use that same head for performance and get a success for both players.
Yeah.
And what we saw in our prototype and performance validation of this model is that we ended up with a pretty even split between the two. About 60% of people ended up in the aft position and 40% of players ended up in the forward position. And really what that designates and what it shows you is that we want players to hit it in both CG positions and really determine what works best for you, because CG depth is a timing mechanism. It can help you to square the face more effectively, and it offers another performance choice option for us within our lineup. So having the 2, having the 3, and now having the 1 really allows us a lot of shape change and face depth options, as well as center gravity positions.
And with the shaping, I mean, it is the largest of the fairways when you look down on it, but it still blends in well with the other models. And it's, when you set it down, it doesn't look completely different. It doesn't have anything weird to it. It's just a little bit bigger. And when you set it down, it blends really nicely. And I think, again, if you're a player who has that eye that, hey, I have to look at something that's a certain way, this still fits while giving you the performance that you may need, you know, as you hit it. So I think this is pretty amazing. I was amazed that for me, which I know is a little bit of an anomaly, how much spin was reduced when we moved from the weight from back to front, because I was expecting a couple hundred RPM, and it was more. I mean, it's close to 800, which is not the number that anyone should be expecting. But for me, it was amazing how much change that made with just simply switching the weights, and it was pretty impressive. But it's extremely straight, it's easy to hit, and it gets up in the air very, very easily.
I think the other benefit to highlight to this product is that because of our SureFit flat weights, you have the capability to find intermediate CG positions too. So if that forward position was maybe a little too low a spin for you specifically, we can dial that in. So it comes, you know, in its standard configuration with 11 gram in the back and a 3 gram in the front, but we can vary those weights to be able to really dial it in further. So it's been exciting to see that performance and to allow players to experience it. The other thing that's unique about the 1 line in particular is the fact that it does have our highest lofted options. So it goes all the way up to a 9 wood with a 24-degree option. So we've seen a real strong trend on tour towards high lofted fairway woods, and something that we're excited to have both, you know, the 3, the 5, the 7, but also the 9 wood in this line.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't think it's a trend that's going away. It looks like when we go on, you know, every week when we see the what's in the bag photos, you know, from tour, it seems like we just see more high lofted fairways. We're not, you know, that the trend isn't going away. So, like you said, having another tool kind of in your tool chest to say, hey, yeah, we have something that'll fit that gap or that shot. It has to be nice to open that up and just see one more option in there for you.
100%. I think that's what when we showed all of our tour reps around the world, was this is not an afterthought meeting where we're just showing you because it's coming out. This is going to be a real tool to be able to use with players of all abilities.
Yep. And then to kind of round out the GT1 line, which hope I'm going to grab I think I grabbed the right one. We have the final, the GT1 Hybrid. Yeah. So not only fairways, but we got hybrids as well. And out of the line, again, kind of the largest looking, but again, tons of adjustability in a hybrid that initially you think, oh, it's just meant to get the ball up in the air as high as possible. Well, yes, that's kind of true. But with that, there's still a ton of adjustability to dial it in for your specific game, your specific swing, gapping. I actually got fitted into this through my fitting to replace my 4-iron.
Love it.
And the funny thing is, it did take a little while, because I'll be honest, the swing wasn't quite there as we were working, but when we kind of worked together and found the right settings and everything set up with this, it flew the highest, it flew the farthest, and it fit the gap that I needed for that spot. But with the hybrid, again, kind of looks like a little bit of a mini fairway wood, but it's a hybrid. And again, same thing, a lot of adjustability in here to dial it into a wide range of golfers.
Yeah, it's our largest profile hybrid. I like to say it lives kind of between a fairway wood and a hybrid from an overall shape and look perspective. It's what I game as well. What makes this product really unique, and you highlighted a few options on it, is the fact that now we have this 4F CG adjustability, just like we have in the fairway wood. So it's configured with the heavyweight in the aft position as well. That's a deeper CG than we've ever had in any of our hybrids. It really promotes more dynamic launch, more spin, a more higher ball flight, which is a lot of what players in this category need in order to control shot stopping power into the greens. And then we have the capability, obviously, to move it forward. When you move it forward, it ends up in a CG position pretty similar to the TSR1, but with all of the new technology under the hood of being able to leverage it. A few other things that we've changed about this, just in terms of the face shaping, the profile. So we've made it a little bit wider through that face, just giving more playable hit area to it. It's an incredibly high inertia hybrid as well. In the TSR lineup, it was our highest inertia hybrid. In this lineup, it's our second highest inertia hybrid. We'll get to that, but leads the industry in terms of overall forgiveness across these two products. And then you pair that in terms of how else do we promote high ball flight? Well, you pair it with a fairway wood shaft configuration. You can also have it configured with a traditional hybrid shaft, but with the fairway wood shaft, that 335 tip diameter, we find that it gives a little bit more kick at the bottom, promotes that higher ball flight that these players need.
Yep. And like you mentioned, I mean, as a tinker, I'm a big tinker, having the ability to put in a fairway wood shaft or a wood shaft in general, like I said, 335 tip, but there's also the traditional 370 parallel tip for a hybrid shaft. And, you know, again, JJ as a fitter kind of gives you just more options. Because, I mean, let's be honest, a fitter is really just a really great problem solver. And to have more options and more kind of changes, it just makes your job a little easier.
Yeah, again, it really lets you unlock a few things. And this is the part of the bag at Titleist. We tend to have a lot of clubs when you look at our utility lineup, number of hybrids, high lofted fairway woods. But we find for tour players and amateurs alike, that's the part of the bag that has the most opportunity a lot of times.
Yeah.
Hey, my 3 and 4 iron go the same distance, so I need better gapping, or I don't have the stopping power. So, you know, with a TSR one, we have Lee Hodges in it on a week in and week out basis. You know, testing GT1 goes, well, this seems to be a little bit more forgiving version of that. Why wouldn't I want it at that distance and to be able to get that type of descent angle and really take advantage of par 5s and long par 4s, long par 3s?
Yeah. And so in my fitting, I mean, it was interesting to see that as I hit my 4 iron well, I just didn't have enough ball speed with it. In the 5 iron, we're just kind of together, and they both kind of did the same thing. So a big thing with the GT1 Hybrid, what I got fit into, was the extra added ball speed. That just added that little bit of distance that I needed to fit the gap between my 7 wood and my 5 iron. So, you know, that alone, I mean, the height helps as well, but having that little extra firepower for someone like myself is huge, because now I have 2 clubs that actually do something different. And the other thing is, you look at the whole line in general and you say, well, I played GT3 Driver, I played GT2, you know, Fairway, or whatever, you know, whatever model. It doesn't necessarily mean that in hybrid you have to match the numbers, because it all comes down to how do you use that club, how do you swing it, what are the launch conditions. So you may be a 3 driver, you could easily be a 1 hybrid. It just all depends on the player.
100%. And I think that's the key through your fitting, is that you are open to all the models throughout your fitting, and you're using that club for the tool and the situation you're going to be using it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I got fit into that. I'm excited to get it in my bag and actually have a little more consistency at the top end of the bag, which will be exciting.
That's the beauty of hybrids.
Exactly. So, and then we'll continue hybrids, but we're unfortunately going to leave the number 1 in a sense, and we're going to go to the new 2 and 3 hybrids. So yes, there are now GT2 and GT3 hybrids, and pretty exciting, because I know a lot of Golf WRX fans are going to look at these and say, hey, there's 2 weights there.
Yeah.
And that usually means it won't go left. And but they're there for more than just that. They're more than just trying to make something anti-left. But GT3, GT2 hybrids are brand new shaping, new design, everything. Kind of what was kind of the starting point of getting these to where they are now?
The real starting point for these were, how do we elevate and offer more forgiveness to these products? You just alluded to it in your fit with the one that you saw supreme consistency when you were fit into the 1 hybrid over your 4 or your 5 iron.
Yep.
As we started to think about what is this product and what is it supposed to do in the lineup, well, first of all, we need to offer performance choice. So that's hence the 2 and the 3. I like to say that the 2 is really for that all-around hybrid playability. So really for a player that swings it maybe a little bit more like a fairway would, maybe not as steep in descent angle. The 3, categorically, we say it's for a player that can hit a hybrid a little bit more like an iron with a descent angle of attack. But as you start to think about what were we trying to achieve with these, it really came down to forgiveness and first and foremost. And so Tom and the team, as they really sought to drive the performance of this, they started looking at where are we positioning and spreading mass in these hybrid heads. And in the 2 in particular, we saw that we were putting large amounts of discretionary mass on the heel and the toe area. And we said, well, let's move that into a center of gravity fitting tool. If we need the mass there, right, let's open up new opportunities for JJ and the team of fitters to be able to unlock more performance. Because if anything, what we hear about hybrids is that CG heel toe can really unlock significant distance, significant consistency, and being able to take one side of the golf course out of play with a hybrid and really give you that consistency really can help you significantly improve your performance. So that's really the starting point of it, was how do we elevate and increase forgiveness, but also do it in a way that we're adding adjustability that can help all players.
Yeah. And then when you look at this, the GT2, GT3, totally kind of different shapes this year. So depending on, some players, shaping is a big thing. When you look at this, I love that we were kind of talking about this earlier, and I made a great reference to the old 818, which was kind of that legendary hybrid and kind of having some of that shaping cues to it. But having two different shapes here, the GT3 being much more compact. I know some players like to look at hybrids and they want something small and isn't too big. And then you have the GT2, which is I consider more of kind of just a medium size and has a little more roundness to it. But when you're on tour, JJ, when you see kind of two hybrids like this, do players necessarily gravitate towards the one or the other, or is it more, hey, I'm looking for this, and hey, this one might fit your need the best? Or how do looks kind of play into it for those guys?
Yeah, it definitely plays a part. And to Stephanie's point, sometimes it is a little bit more, are you the long iron player who really needs a height? Hey, I want to play a 2 or a 3 iron, but I just can't create the ball speed gap or the elevation. That might drive us to the 3. Or if you're just somebody, hey, I'm looking for a little bit more height. The great part with the shaping is Tom Bennett, who works through this. I've never seen somebody make more rapid prototypes of a hybrid. There's no way. He'll bring 6 or 8 out on the tee to show a tour player, looking at very nuanced areas. And what it really came back to in the GT3 was that 818 shape was really popular.
Yeah.
And so face shaping, profile shaping, creating a little separation. And then what we found is we were doing some internal weighting on TSR2s on tour with having to use glue to move things around. And now to be able to do it on a tee with adjustable weights and bring that to both models really is going to unlock these and really give it more opportunities with more players in both models.
Yeah.
And that collaboration is really a key part of our R&D process, that back and forth of listening to the feedback, hearing, okay, we really think we need something that's a little bit smaller, more performance and shape differentiation between these two models. So the fact that we've been able to size this down by 6%, but yet the inertia is 15% higher than where we were in TSR3, that's huge. When you start to think about overall consistency and you're trying to carry that bunker going into the green, having ball speed consistency, launch and spin consistency, which are the byproducts of higher inertia, that really can help players to see the performance that a hybrid can really benefit them. And then on the 2, we've also made that a sleeker profile, just really kind of refined it. Both of them sit a little lower to the ground now, so bringing more playable face area to all players. But this product is our highest inertia product in the line. So when you start to think about what are players trying to do, they're trying to achieve, great shot stopping power, great performance consistency. These hybrids have really been designed to execute against that goal.
Yeah. So my question is too. We've seen kind of all over golf a lot of high lofted fairways becoming more and more popular. When you look at a hybrid and a high lofted fairway, what are kind of the advantages to the hybrid that some players may find suits their game a little bit better than going to a 7 or 9 wood?
You want to start with that one?
Yeah, I think there are different swing types, but you're a little bit narrower on the sole, so versatility out of different types of lies, rough conditions, sometimes are helpful. We find players like a Peter Malnati, when he gets a high lofted fairway wood, he's just creating excess spin. So now he's in a situation he really likes to hit his hybrid off the tee. He likes to hit it off the fairway. So it kind of creates a different versatility for him than the high lofted fairway versus a player, that is just looking for kind of max launch in this scenario. So we tend to have that player that, is looking for a little bit more of that driving flight and different surfaces versus just the kind of easy high launch is going to be that GT2 7 wood.
Yeah. So that's it. There's still a lot of players who, fit into a hybrid more than a fairway would. So that is the brand new GT1, GT1 line, GT2 and 3 hybrid. So as much as, you think GT's kind of been done, it's not. Everything's brand new. And it's pretty cool to see the whole line rounded out and now to see basically everything here. So now, when you go into a fitting, there's pretty much there's nothing that can't kind of be done in a sense. I mean, you're going to have the option to have just about anything fit your swing, fit your game, and yeah, it's going to be pretty impressive to see what people start getting fit into, and hopefully we see some wild combinations of numbers, because that's what I like to see, just matching the things up where they work the best, regardless of what the numbers on the bottom.
Absolutely.
So, JJ Stephanie, thank you so much. Always appreciate your knowledge. Awesome being out here. Thank you so much for getting us out here and talking about the new GT1 and GT2 and 3 hybrids.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks,
We
Brian.
appreciate the time.